hate soon enough. There we go. Welcome to another holy amazing stream. You know, there's something amazing about my streams, you know.
Dear Lord, I just pray over everyone who came on this live today who was anointed and divinely appointed to be here. And I pray blessings over their day and just a feeling of peace. All right, you beautiful angels of the Lord Jesus.
Oops, I forgot to hit that button hard enough.
All right, you beautiful angels of the Lord Jesus Cristo.
Cristo. Welcome to the stream. I'm having a better day. I started the day by my daughter. Okay, so I was sleeping on the couch like all day. Cold is doing a little bit better. Hang on. It's funny. Whenever I talk about the cold, it like shows up. But trust me, it's getting better. I can tell. I don't know. It's not a cold anymore. Now it's a sinus infection. But I'm on some antibiotics. Anyway, so at one point there was this smoky smell in my house, and wait. Can you actually? Okay, you can't hear me. Okay, and I went to investigate, and my daughter had a bunch of tarot cards in front of her, and she was manipulating them like a seance in the middle of our house. And of course I dashed outside to breathe because the smoke was bad for me. And then I held my nose, came through and opened up the front door to get more. And then I turned around and she was gone. She was gone. And I said, Mari, what were you doing just now? My daughter's a content creator too. And she's like, I was asking tarot what I should do with my content today, because I have these 2 videos that I can't release yet because I'm waiting for the affiliate link. So I was going to do something new. You know when you do something new, when you know you shouldn't be doing something new. So I was asking Tarot for advice, and Tarot said, work with your old content. And I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. She's like, would you like me to do your reading? I was like, you know what? No, but I'm going to take your advice. So I came in my room here and I opened up my hoarding folders, all of my folders with like millions of like live streams from 2018 and whatever. And I got to the first decent sized one. I started scrolling through it, and I found tons of what I like to call golden moments that are just like totally perfect to pull out and make into an independent video. Now, I've done this before. I did it to prove that it was a good thing at one point. I had the staff over at my office house when it was an office house. Now it's a rental. And they were, and I was like, look, let me show you guys. Here's the thing, like, we need editors that could take my old live streams and just go through them and pull out the golden moments. And so I just pulled up a random live stream, and there was this question that was asked, do Japanese people hate Spanish people? And I rolled with it as a joke on the live stream. I'm like, oh yeah, they hate Spanish people. And I rolled with it as a joke. About 30 seconds in, I stopped, and then I talked about it. But I pulled that out as a clip, and it got like 10,000 views like right away. And it was actually a big clip even when I did a smaller version of it on TikTok like years later. So there's these golden moments. I've proven it multiple times. And so I'm feeling good today because I actually did something like that. I was pulling out 3 or 4 golden moments, except for this one point that I got a little bit discouraged. I was going through, someone asked me like, George, can you go through the history of how your career? Because I only know parts of it. And I'm like, yeah, sure, let me do it. And I said, let me summarize. But then I start with, I was born in Florida. So, oh my God, that's not a summary. Just don't start with your birth. So I go through my whole life, and I get to this one point where I'm in like 8th grade, and I go, and I remember this one time in class that was really, you know what, let me stop the recording. And I stopped the recording. No. And then I went and searched. That's like certainly, because there was at one point where I had all of the download. What I thought I had done was stop the recording but kept live streaming. So even if the quality of the stream would drop a little bit, I could at least patch it together and continue the stream, continue the story. Excuse me. So I searched for it was 12/28 was the day. Like 12/28, 2018, I think was the date. And I couldn't find anything. There was nothing. Like I had a stream later that night on another channel Why? I don't know. And then I was just like, well, I guess I can't use that. I was bummed out. And then I looked at the file right next to it, which was the next day, of course, But wait a minute. I'm wearing the same shirt. It's because I started it late at night. And what I was doing was, I remember back then, I would want the file to be smaller. So I would stop it and restart it. So I had it. Good news. So that'll be out. I've got 3 of those that I'm lining up right now. Okay, let's see here. Caveman says, tell Mari to get back to Portland and use those witchy powers to keep the weather nice. She's done with Portland, She's not going to be there anymore. Oh, man. Worked a little bit more on my song today. I have a lot of confidence that the follow-up song to I Love Japanese Girls is going to be pretty good. We got our mix. I'll put a little bit more into it. Probably need to keep that going. That's the beginning of it. Caveman says, it shows how much I need to come back to streams. June says, I love how June, it doesn't matter what I'm talking about. June has a Japanese question. I heard Okina today and I was a bit confused. Why not say Oki instead? And can na be put in place of every hiragana e ending? No. There's this weird thing with chisai and oki, where they say chisana neko, okina inu, like that. They'll turn them into not adjectives. It's really more, you can do it. It's like, I would say it's like a little bit more poetic, or it makes it cuter or tinier. Chisana neko. A little tiny, instead of like a small cat, it's like a tiny cat. So that's my off back of the bus answer. It just makes it more poetic, or a little bit bigger, or a little bit tinier, depending. And beyond Okina and Chisana, I don't think I've seen many others. If I have seen them, they've probably been in poetry and stuff like that. So there's your answer. Caveman coming in with an answer I've never seen before. Oki is actually a na adjective in most situations. Is it? Caveman? Where have you gotten that information from? I don't know if I've ever heard of that. I'm not sure if I've heard of that. I was trying to look for a thing I could play. Where is it? Oh, here we go.
I don't like it.
Or it's treated as much. Same with Chisai. Is it? Caveman? I would like your sources for this, please. Please source me. And it better not be caveman.com either. No, I disagree. You see it every now and then. It's not treated that way a lot in my back of the bus opinion. If there's 2 men on the back of the bus, I'm like, oh, okay, I don't know who this guy is. He's probably getting off at the next stop. I don't know. If you want to take his advice, or I don't know, this guy, I don't know where he's getting that. It's almost always, or is treated, I don't know. Wait, have I been wrong all the time? No, Caveman. Yes, you could be wrong all the time. I could be wrong all the time. I thought you had some inside information you were going to try to give me. Like, I want to see where you've heard that. I've never heard that. Never heard that it was like pretty much always that way. They treat them like that. Oki and Chisai are actually not adjectives. I've never heard that. That is sounds like a gaijin directed narrative. Sorry, I'm changing my headphones out. Alrighty. Oh, I should. I keep forgetting to not. I gotta record these. Excuse me. All right. George, can you tell about the incident where you went to a military base university and there were several American and Japanese kids were lined up? You mentioned it in one of your streams. What? Let me reread that with glasses. I probably read that wrong. George, can you tell about the incident? Okay, an incident. That means something went wrong. Where you went to a military base university. I've never been to a military base university. And there were several American and Japanese kids lined up. I've had a situation where people were lined up. You mentioned it in one of your streams. Oki basu looks weird. It's not weird at all. It is not weird at all. Yeah, Raghav, I'm not sure what you mean. The early on thing that I talk about is the only thing that I can think of that you're talking about. It's not an incident. It was when I learned about tomoshimasu. It was the first time I had encountered it. So I was in a school, not a military university. I was in a Japanese high school somewhere in northern Japan with the Discover Japan Club. And they had like 10 of us lined up, you know, their English group or something like that, and the Japanese group, you know, the Americans learning Japanese and the Japanese that were interested in learning English or something like that. And everyone in the group was like, Watashi no namae wa John desu. They were doing it like that. The watashi no namae was something desu, right? And the Japanese were imitating that across the way as well, which, by the way, is a thing that Japanese people do. They lower their Japanese to a level that they think you'll understand. And because everyone was doing that, watashi no namae wa blah, blah, blah desu, they were doing it too. Until the last guy in line, and I happened to be further on in the line. I think I was probably last as well. Or maybe they did all of them and then they were going through us. That was probably that makes more sense. They went through, the last guy in line was Japanese, then they went through us and I was somewhere near the end. The last guy in their line said, Tanaka tomoshimasu, or something like that. I don't know what his name was. And I heard tomoshimasu and I was like, that's cool. Never heard that before. So when it got to my name, I just said, George tomoshimasu. And everybody started clapping. They were like, what? How did you know tomoshimasu? Even though I was just imitating what that guy had done. And that's when I knew tomoshimasu is so much better than watashi no namae wa Joji desu. Now, you could argue that just saying Joji desu is fine. It's fine. But Joji tomoshimasu was unexpected to them so much that they felt that they should clap at that and be very excited. That's probably the incident that you were thinking of. All right. June says, sometimes my Japanese friends can't explain things about Japanese, so I write my questions down and send them to you when that happens. When have you been sending them to me? You mean here in the live stream? I don't think I've received anything. Joshua Butler says, hi, George. Any new projects, adventures, or book work planned now that you've returned to the U.S.? I'm just trying to get past my cold and post-cold sinus infection. I'm not doing really well right now. Also, I'll tell you, I was looking at some old streams, and it looked like my camera was defective and my whole body was thin. And I realized, oh, I've gained some weight. Man, I was looking so thin back, not in this one that I'm working on right now, but like maybe in 2016-ish. June says, oh my goodness, ever since I heard that story from you, I've been using Jun tomoshimasu, and they always immediately go, Nihongo jouzu desu ne. Yeah, because that is not basic Japanese. Basic Japanese, watashi wa Jun desu, or watashi no namae wa Jun desu, and that is very, children do that in Japan too. The children don't say tomoshimasu, you know, younger children, they say, watashi wa ba 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 desu. Caveman says, I don't know now, to be honest. It seems like there are a few / lot of times where oki is used by dropping the e and saying okina and chisana. Yeah, it is commonly used, but I don't think it's safe to say that they are originally not adjectives. I don't think that's the case. Most not adjectives don't end in an actual e. They have two kanji or something like that, or they're from a English word like sexy na hito, colorful na e. June says, I don't want to bother you in direct messages because I always have a lot of questions. Well, I would ignore most of them probably. To be fair, I would ignore them. I need to fix these lights. Like right now there's like this weird shadow that casts down, but because I was trying to set it up so I could stand back here, I've changed the lighting here. Here, have you researched anything online, Caveman? I'm sure you're going to get a similar answer to something I just said. Oki and chisai are normal adjectives. Because if they were not, you think about it. If they were not adjectives, you could say oki janai, and you can't. You would say oki deshita, you can't. They're e adjectives. They just have a component. There's something about them in poetry often where it's becomes chisana and okina, and people use it. And I'm sure I unconsciously use it, but I think it's used to show more emphasis. すごく大きな something がいました. What do you respond with? I don't think I can read that. 恐縮です. Is that what you say? 恐縮です? I gotta look. Now you gotta make me look up your word. I want automatic furigana on everything. Feeling obliged. Wait, why won't it show me also? Why do I not have the... Okay. Oh my God, this is too complicated. Hang on, guys. My setup is not working right now. Deep L used to play these things automatically.
恐縮
Ich bin demütig. I'm humbled. Yeah, I've never heard a Japanese person say that. Weirdly, I've never heard that word. Like, it's not in my head that I've ever heard it. 恐縮です. Never heard that. But I'm happy you get a good reaction with your students. Let's try to download this. Gonna get my Deep L didn't have any of its speaking components downloaded, it looks like. Joshua says, do you feel like your Korean leveled up on your trip? I know it did. There was some things that I learned on this trip that are like, I answered a couple mysteries and I learned some big grammar that I knew other ways to say it, but this is like better ways to say it. I got faster with reading. But also, at the same time, I started having more doubt about my level. Like, oh man, oh, I got so much further to go. I started feeling like that. I got so much further to go. Like, I can handle, saying what I need to say, getting out of any problems, understanding stuff that I'm not paying attention to. If I just hear Korean, it just comes into my ear and I just understand it, like all of that. But I still can get lost in a conversation completely. I can still not understand. And there's this one girl I watch every now and then. She pops up on live and she's not answering my question. I think she might be Busan dialect and that's why I can't understand half of what she's saying. But she talks so much that I like to watch her stream, but I don't know what she's saying. I wonder if we can catch her live right now. Where'd my phone go? Oh, that's unfortunate. Oh, there it is. Let's see if we can't. See if she's live here. She would, I don't know, she comes on, gets an account, and then she loses the account. All right, what is this? Okay, hang on, I gotta close out and come back in. Sometimes TikTok just gets weird. All right, so let's see. Following. No. There's this one girl that's always working out.
Incredible, wow. Just fantastic outfit. So many cool outfits.
Nope, she's not on, unfortunately. I refuse to put stuff like that on my. I say I want it, but I don't want something to handicap me. I don't need a handicap training wheel with Rikai-kun. I saw that kanji kyoshiku. I was able to read it. I didn't, but I was able to rely on my understanding that I thought that was the shikun shikujo, and I know that was osoroshi. So I still was using my own brain to process it. I'm not a fan of the helper, the training wheel stuff. I don't want it, so I don't put them in. Good for you guys if you get it, but I don't want it. I'd rather think, oh man, I gotta look up that and then learn it. You know? I'm doing good, Mimics. Caveman says it's kyoshiku is a formal way of saying I'm honored. Here it was saying I'm humbled. That's what it was showing on Google Translate. Or I'm sorry. Doesn't look like it's honored. I thought that was koe desu. Let me see what koe desu translates to. That might mean I'm super happy or something like that. Hang on, I don't know what I'm doing. Is this the right? There we go. Okay, sorry. I'm so used to my setups on my. So I would say koe desu is like. I hear that one. I don't say it, but. There. See? That's I'm honored. But I think that's not. If someone says you're good in Japanese and you said koe desu, it would be weird. But that's what I'm honored means. Kyoshiku seems to be like I'm humbled. Well, with I'm flattered, I'd probably say, yeah, hazukashi desu. I'd probably just go with that level. I mean, even basic, I'm flattered. Oh, apparently koe desu does it as well.
光栄です. I'm flattered.
とっても嬉しいです. Ah, that's what I was thinking it was, right? I'm very happy. 光栄です. Much obliged. Oh, please. Look, don't go out of your way to make your Japanese always. Don't make it spazzy so that they're always like, ooh. Don't chase that. That's a drug you shouldn't chase. Just have normal Japanese. Arigatou gozaimashita. Just you know. I mean, I've got a few phrases that I do in Japanese, a few phrases that I do in Korean, but I don't go overboard. Like if they say it's when they say my Korean is good or your Japanese is good, I feel like that's the spot to do it. So I think you're okay there. Just don't go out of your way to like overdo it. Like don't be always chasing then you become like a gimmick person. I don't like to be a gimmick person. That's just me though. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Sonna wake nai desu sounds pretty aggressive. That's not the case. No. My Japanese is not good. Shut up. You shut up. You shut your mouth. Sounds a little bit aggressive. Just a little bit. Not as much as I was doing it. It's like, oh, your English is really good. That's not the case. Sonna wake nai desu. No, not possible. No. Oh, I'm sorry, have I offended you? I don't know the history of people telling you that your Japanese is good. I wouldn't say sonna wake nai desu. I wouldn't say that. The thing is, anything you say though, in that moment that they're not expecting is going to get a good reaction. So it's hard to gauge how good they are, those particular responses. Mimic says, I've been listening to your podcast at work lately, and you have a lot of awesome stories. My podcast? Which podcast? I have one podcast. It's called The Secrets of Japanese. Is that the one you're talking about? Or do you mean these live streams? So yeah, I was thinking, yeah, let me go through a little bit more of these. I'm in the middle of editing this one particular, let's see here, one particular sequence from 2018. I'm not sure how to get my workspace back together. Hang on. Reset. All right, here we go. All right. Push this over here. Actually, we push this over here instead. That we can. All right. So, what I've been doing is trying to make this like a. Right now, it's a little bit too long in the tooth. I'm trying to get to the point here of, but I ended up talking too much about other things.
So eventually, I was just like selling. I was just doing the deal. I was in charge of the deal. So he said, hey, why don't you become a trade coordinator for me? So I got business cards that said George Trombley trade coordinator. Okay.
That might be a way to end right there, hopefully.
Okay. Now, okay.
Oh man, see, this whole next part of the story is
Now,
too much.
This guy eventually started scamming, where he would get school a year later,
Let me see.
and we had made some.
Maybe I can get past this part and just cut it.
The freight porter was like, "We need our money. Where's our money?" We didn't have a but I knew it was falling apart, so I would a company where I would count like the products as they came. Camping. I would do camping in the warehouse. They eventually failed.
Okay, that seems like a good jump point.
And I got their products. I flew back to the United States. I don't think you're going to get your product. Because we had more than, we had business back and forth, but I knew it was falling apart. So I went to all of them.
Yeah, man, I don't know how I'm going to be able to not, I really want to cut this story though.
The job. And we would go around to clothing stores, and I was supposed to interpret everything that he said, and what they said back I would interpret. But I wasn't good at keeping track of the conversation. So eventually I was just like selling. I was just doing the deal. I was in charge of the deal. So he said, hey, deal. I was in charge of the deal. So he said, hey, why don't you become a trade coordinator for me? So I got business cards that said George Trombley trade coordinator. Okay. Now, long story short, this guy eventually was
Okay, I'm going to cut that.
trade coordinator. Okay. This guy eventually started scamming where
Okay. Maybe I can start scamming.
he would get 30% up front. And I don't think he was scamming intentionally. I think he ran out of money. So eventually, after high school, a year later, I think he ran out of money.
All right, let's see if I can cut this.
Sharing an apartment together, me and this guy, okay? And when he was in America, I had sold a lot. I'm a good salesman. I had sold a lot. He was scamming intentionally. I think he ran out of money. I had sold a lot. I'm a good salesman. And we had made some money. But there was a lot of orders that hadn't been delivered yet, but we had received the 30%. But we were living on the 30%.
Okay, let's see.
Right? And I realized that was happening when a fax came in.
Okay, let's see here.
Right? And I realized that was we were living on the 30%. And I realized that was happening. A fax came in 30%. And I realized that was happening. A fax came in from Camino International, which was our freight forwarder. The freight forwarder was like, we need our money. The freight forwarder was like, we need our money. Where's our money? And I'm like, oh, wait a minute, what? And then I saw a response. I don't know. I opened up the folder and I was looking, and one of the things that he had said was, I opened up the folder and I was looking, and one of the things that he had said was, in response was, our warehouse he had said was,
Man, do I repeat words
the
so many
response
times?
was, our warehouse burned. Things that he had said was, our warehouse burned down in America. We need a little bit more time.
Man, I really,
We need a few.
I don't know if this is my ADHD, if this is how I work,
Warehouse burned down in America.
but I really need to edit myself.
Was our warehouse burned down in America. We need a little bit more time to pay because until the insurance kick was all a lie. We didn't have a factory in America.
Okay.
It was all BS. And he had, back in the day, there was no internet, so you used to have so this was the start of me becoming an entrepreneur. So
Okay, here we go. At least I got through that quicker.
we didn't have a factory in America. So this was the start of me becoming an entrepreneur. I was like, oh my God. I was like, oh my God. I'm the one that sold all of this stuff. I'm kind of in trouble here. I love Japanese people. I sold these to people that I became friends to. Because we had more than, we had business back and forth, but I knew it was falling apart. So I went to all of them, every single one. And I said, hey, I don't think you're going to get, and I said, hey, I don't think you're going to get your product. And he's not here, but this is my evidence. And since I sold it to you, I feel responsible. If you're willing to give me the remaining 70%, I'll get your products.
Feels like a good ending.
And every single one of them did. Here from that time, I am now, I feel like, but, and then they paid their money. And for 3 years, I did that. And I got an apartment. And then I went back to Japan. And then they paid their money.
Okay.
Your products. And then they paid their money. Okay. And I made a profit. And then I went back to Japan. And I got an apartment. And for 3 years, I did that. I did import-export that way.
Good. That was a good shortening.
I wasn't good at business, though. Once I got a big broker to be my client, I focused only on them. They would order like hundreds of thousands of dollars of hair accessories, and then I would handle all the transactions. I would literally be like an actual staff at the company where I would count like the products as they came. Kemping. I would do kemping in the warehouse. They eventually failed. Kemping. I would do kemping in the warehouse.
Come on, all this stuff's on my keyboard. All right, at least I think I'm coming to the end of this story and I can end this clip.
They eventually failed when I was like I think I was like 20. Eventually failed. I think I was like 20. I had a good run, but they failed, but I hadn't expanded my business, and I kind of didn't maintain the smaller clients. And expanded my business. I kind of didn't maintain the smaller clients. So I had nothing to bounce back on. I had to move back to America. Came back to America. Moved in with my dad here in Las Vegas. I only had a ticket to Chicago because I had
Don't need that.
my dad here in Las Vegas.
Don't need that at all.
I only had a ticket to Chicago. So I didn't have a ticket. He got me. I started working.
See, I do that. I go, I started, like, I start the thought and then I don't complete it. So common with me.
With my dad here in Las Vegas. I started working at the Just a Buck store down the street. They just opened it. They just opened up. I helped open.
See, I
the
did it. I
store.
did it again. I did. They just opened.
Down the street. They just opened it.
I don't think it's because I had braces either.
They just opened up. I helped open the store, Just a Buck, making like $4.40 an hour. Okay, something like that. Something like that. And didn't have a car. Just had a bicycle. Didn't have a car. Just had a bicycle. Had nothing. Back then, again, still no internet. So I was looking at classifieds to see, man, if I could use my Japanese for something, that'd be awesome. There's a tour guide job. Japanese or something, that'd be awesome.
Don't you think this is like gold? Like it's a whole story that's just sitting here from, actually it's December 29th now, 2018. Just sitting here on this old video.
Awesome. There's a tour guide job, $8 an hour. I'm like, holy crap, that's almost 2 times what I can make. Fuji Tours was the name of the company. And I went and they said, yeah, you'll make $8 an hour. And if you sell things, you'll get some commissions. You'll make $8 an hour. And if you sell things, and they said, yeah, you'll make $8 an hour. And if you went, and they said, yeah. And they said, you'll make $8 an hour, and if you sell things, you'll get some commissions. And I'm like, what? And tips from the customers, like sometimes. Hell yeah. And that's when I started making some decent money. And for 5 years, I was a tour guide. Okay. But that first few months at Fuji, after a few months, they said, can you interpret? They needed someone to interpret. Can you interpret? They needed someone to interpret. What did I say? What do you think I said? Yep, I can interpret. Even though I really had never officially interpreted well because I wasn't keeping the guy in the loop. But I said, yeah, I can interpret. So I went to interpret at Comdex. Comdex isn't, I don't even know if they
See, again, too much information.
interpret. So I went to interpret at Comdex. Comdex isn't, I don't even know if they do it anymore, but it was the biggest thing at the time. Okay, the computer industry, all of their stuff was there, okay? Comdex, for a little company called Okaya Systemware. They said they would pay me, by the way, Fuji Tours paid me $20 an hour. I was elated. $20 was crazy expensive, okay? Keep in mind, I'm like 21, okay? I'm 21 years old. And I got married at 21, so I think...
No. Did I get married at 21? No. No, that's not right. Wait, is that right? I thought I was 23. No, I didn't get married at 21. That's wrong.
And I got married at 21, so I think I just got married to one of my customers on the tour. And, okay, I'm 21 years old.
I'm going to cut that part out.
And I'm getting $20 an hour, blown away that. So I worked for them for 4 days. Blown away that.
Too much background information, and that background information is wrong.
Okay, I'm 21 years old. So I work for them for 4 days. I sit at their booth and I translate whatever they need. They make infrared modules. Okay, they make infrared modules for infrared data, whatever they need. They make I
don't know why I repeat things.
Translate whatever they need. They make infrared modules for infrared data transmission. By the way, Bluetooth didn't exist yet. This was how they were trying to make a protocol to send over infrared. By the way, that protocol does exist. It's just not popular like Bluetooth, okay? Now, on the 5th day, they needed more time than they had booked. On the 5th day, they needed more time than they had booked. So they said, we need more time. And I said, okay, I'll call the office. I said, hey, they need another hour. They said, we need more time. And I said, okay, I'll call time. And I said, okay, time than they had booked. So okay, I'll call the office. I said, hey, they need another hour. Okay, they said, well, use one of your tour forms and bill them for the hour. Collect $55. That's when it hit me. I'm only getting 20. I did all the work. The company's getting $35 for my time, right? I didn't even hesitate. I said, okay, got it. Took $55 and I said, I forget the guy's name now. Mr. Kitazumi. So Mr. Kitazumi, $55 and I said, Mr. Kitazumi. Mr. Kitazumi. So, Mr. Kitazumi, if you need an interpreter again, I'm only $45, you know. You could just hire me direct. $45. I worked for them for like 3 years. Okay. With that company, with me just saying I can do that, with no qualifications as an interpreter, with no college degree, no test ever passed saying that I speak Japanese, just with my pure output method only.
Yeah. Take that, AJAT.
They brought me to put method only. They brought me to Germany. I forget the name of the show over there. I was in Germany for like 10 days.
It was Seabit.
They brought me to Germany. I was in Germany for like 10 days. I went to France. I went to France for the Infrared Data Association. I went to France for the Infrared Data Association big meeting, and then I flew to Nice for the Bluetooth SIG. Bluetooth was not a thing yet. They were using radio waves to do what infrared was doing, and we thought we were superior. And I remember at the Bluetooth SIG, they had a.
I don't know if this is important, but it's a funny, good part.
And I remember at Bluetooth, at the Bluetooth SIG, they had a SIG. They had a.
Oh, come on, get to the point.
Like a proto. They had a.
This guy, man, this guy.
SIG. They had a prototype headset, and I put on the headset, and they streamed from a device via Bluetooth. It was so shit. I mean, it was real shit. And I was like, this will never work. It's amazing. Bluetooth. I never thought Bluetooth was going to make it because it was so bad. It turns out that a lot of the specs that were made.
This part's interesting, but
A lot of the spec.
why do I repeat?
It turns out that a lot of the specs that were made, the protocol stacks that were made for infrared, like OBEX, which is a thing called Objects Exchange, which I worked on with them, got put into Bluetooth. So they all kind of eventually helped each other. Anyway, I went to, let's go back. France, Germany, Cancun, Canada, Israel. I got flown to Japan just to interpret for like a 2-day thing. All of my major travel initially was through them. And I remember when I went to Germany, if I can't remember the name. Okay, Taiwan, I went. All of my major travel initially was through them.
Okay. Cut there.
And I remember when I went to. Okay, Taiwan, I went to Taiwan twice. I went to Taiwan twice because of them.
You know what's interesting? Is here I remember that I went to Taiwan twice. But in a later video, years after this, I was wondering how many days I had lived, and how many days old I was when I went to Japan. So I started looking at my passport, and in my mind, I had only been to Taiwan one time before. And I looked at my passport. Here I was saying 2, but on my passport I had been 4 times. So I don't trust my memory at all. Here I know, apparently.
I went to Taiwan twice because of them. That was called Computex. I can't remember the life of me. Anyway, at the German, it's called Computex.
Okay, come on, man. Am I going to say anything important here?
At the German thing, I remember that was the first time I flew. That was the first time I went over.
Why do I keep doing that?
I flew. Remember that was the first German thing. I remember. That was the first time I flew. That was the first.
I think I might be struggling because of my braces. Like if I feel like I went with my braces, I restate.
At the German thing, I remember that was the first time I went overseas. I remember that was the first time I flew. That was the first time I went over. The first time I went overseas, I was there for a week. I was there for a week. And when we were done, they handed me $4,000 in cash
Oh yeah, I remember that. Holy shit.
and said, "Is this enough?" 4,000. They paid my airfare, they paid my hotel, they paid for every meal, and then gave me $4,000 in cash,
Even today, that would be feel
which
nice.
I kept in a little fake barber. I had never received that kind of money. That was more money than I'd ever seen, and I kept it in this like little fake, like so that the thieves wouldn't get it, like a twisty, like shaving cream thing. Like it was all fake, and I remember when I got home, me and my wife were like threw it up in the air and we rolled around in it because it was so much money. It was so much money.
I wonder if my wife
Okay.
remembers that.
Then we're still talking about my career. So I was doing interpreting for them, but also I was building Yes Japan. I had a daughter a few years later, right after we got married, after I started working with them. Oh, another side shot. Because I did so much interpreting work for with the Infrared Data Association, Mr. Kitazumi was he was
Dang it. Oh man, I think I'm gonna drag on this.
another side shot. Because I did so much interpreting work for with the Infrared Data Association, Mr. Kitazumi was he was one of the chairs of the Mr. Kitazumi. He was one of the chair. He was one of the chairs of the technical committee, right? So I was always in the high level meetings. I knew the protocol stack really well. I understood the code behind it, right? It's so stupid. I got made into a voting member. Yes Japan Corporation, if you go back on the Wayback Machine to the IRDA website, you'll see that Yes Japan was a voting member along with Microsoft, Hewlett Packard, IBM, Cisco. I was a voting member. Why? Because I knew the stack, and he nominated me to be a voting member of the Infrared Data Association. So stupid. So dumb. Okay. Anyway. So I was building Yes Japan, and back then, there weren't like content managers. So I wrote a content manager in a programming language called Miva. Miva was like a really crappy programming closed source language, and SQL wasn't even a thing that was easily accessible. I don't know if it was out. Either I didn't know about it or it wasn't available because PHP wasn't even around, if I remember correctly. Okay, or I didn't know about it. So I was using Miva, and the database system was X-Base3 database, but I made my own content manager. They saw it, and then they said, "Would you please build our website?" So eventually I was making like $2,000 a month just to be their web guy, and I had no documentation. No documentation that said I was a programmer. I had no college, just self-taught, trying to build it for myself. And for like 2 or 3 years, I don't remember how long that went, I was their web guy. Eventually, I don't remember what happened. It just fell apart at one point. I don't remember. Probably I screwed something up. But at least for 3 or 4 years, I was their webmaster, which is dumb. I think I made like I know what it was. Dumb. I think I made like I know what it was.
Oh, this was a huge mistake I made.
I
I made a huge mistake.
made a mistake in the code.
Yeah. I emailed everybody in a recursive loop. I was emailing all of the customers, and I forgot to reset the variable for the email, so it kept attaching. And eventually, like 200, 300 emails in, there was 300 emails attached with all the private information that probably shouldn't have been there.
And I was looping through iterations of the clients, sending out messages to each of the clients, and I was changing, putting their name in there and their information. But what happened was I forgot to clear the variable, and I added to the variable. So every loop in the database kept adding customer information, and by the time I got to the end, like there was like 1,700
So stupid.
customers' information sent to the last person. That was like a data breach because of me. So they didn't want me as their webmaster anymore.
Okay, good end of that story. God, we're 20 minutes in. Come on.
Eventually I did interpreting work for like 3 or 4 years. I was the official Tokyo Disneyland interpreter. Whenever they visited Las Vegas, I interpreted for them here. I had a contract with them. I worked for Lucent Technologies when they went. I worked for Lucent Technologies when they went to Japan. When the government of Japan, they went to Japan. When the government of Japan, they were doing something with securities where. To Japan, they were doing something with securities where they were allowing banks to do cross-selling, whereas before that they weren't allowed to do cross-selling they weren't allowed to use customer data from one branch over to the other, like from one sect of the company.
They probably should have kept it that way.
To mine it and use it for the other sect. Well, Lucent Technologies had that technology, and when the government changed that policy, Lucent Technology went over there, and I was with one of the ground people trying to figure out how they could make money in Japan. I worked for ventriloquist people and Yazawa Eikichi, which is a rock star. Okay, that was all my interpreting career. Then I started a music company.
Oh my God. How much more am I going to talk?
I did interpreting, by the way, until like 3 years ago. Okay, so that's a long stem. So I've made easily
Tons of money.
I don't know, $500,000 over the career. I don't know how long or how much, but it's easily, I don't know how long. Career, I don't know how long or how much, but it's easily $500,000 over that span. Okay, so just saying yes and having no certificate and no college graduate, I was able to succeed there. Okay. Then I started a music business called JapanFiles.com. And Japan Files, for 6 years, we released music in America. We were selling MP3s before Apple had iTunes. There were no MP3s, as far as I know. I don't know any major company that was selling MP3s, but we were selling MP3s. But it was limited to Japanese independent bands. Very stupid scope. I never was smart enough to figure out. I was selling videos online and streaming videos through Real Player, like 3.0 or 4.0, whenever they first started doing that. Like right from the get-go, there was, I couldn't even, keep this in mind, when I first started making videos for Yes Japan, I couldn't even find an example of how to make a video. Do you know how different the world is now? I couldn't even find, I found one video that like every 5 frames would move. It was some sort of cooking thing. But that was it. The word podcast didn't exist. The word vlog didn't exist. YouTube didn't come until like 3 years later. Like it was nothing. I was selling music. I feel like very pioneer level. I was selling music and I was selling videos for credits on Yes Japan. Of course, it's great to have a great idea, but my implementation was shit. Theoretically, if I paid attention, I could have made YouTube. Theoretically, I could have made something at least in the beginning that would have got bought out, but I wasn't. No big concept at that time. I was just trying to sell my own stuff, and I was just trying to sell.
I've never empowered people. That's been my problem.
MP3 music. I'm not looking for accolades because trust me, I wasn't great, but at least I was doing something. So for 6 years, I ran Japan Files. We released 25 albums in America. Morning Musume, LMC, Girogameshu. Like we eventually were doing major stuff, not just the minor stuff. Minor stuff. Once just the minor stuff. Once iTunes came around, it got harder and harder because we were an MP3 selling company. We had more restrictions on what we could do than they put on iTunes in the end, because iTunes didn't have to file. iTunes didn't have to.
Oh my God, it's too much information.
We're an MP3 selling company. We had more restrictions on what we could do than they put on iTunes in the end,
I don't
because
need this
iTunes
information.
didn't have to file. iTunes didn't have to do hell of a burden for a small company like us, and our reports these books. It was so detailed, but it was just so much work to program those reports. Every month I was constantly spending all this effort on the reports, and I knew that I was making this much money.
Oh, damn. I might have to keep that.
We had more restrictions on what we could do than they put on iTunes in the end, because iTunes didn't have to file. iTunes didn't have because iTunes didn't have to file. In the end, because iTunes didn't have to do publishing.
They just said they weren't going to do it. They didn't have to. It wasn't that they said, well, if you want to sell here, we're not going to do that.
Have to do publishing licensing. I don't know what they do now, but they didn't have to then. We had to. It was a hell of a burden for a small company like us, and our reports had to be so detailed, but it was just so much work to program those reports. Every month I was constantly spending all this effort on the reports, and I knew that I was making this much money for this much effort, while the books, these books and the website Yes Japan, were making this much money for this much effort. And eventually in 2012, after everything crashed, the Lehman Brothers crash, they call it the Lehman shock in Japan. Like, everyone was like leaving the website. Slowly but surely there was a bleed of people paying on that website. And eventually I couldn't afford to pay for the staff that were running Japan Files. And I said, I'm done. I hadn't paid myself in like 4 months. Like I said, suicidal moment. Like, I did not want to let go of Japan Files. It was my baby. And I was crying and I was emotional and I had to let it go. And I started another company too called Hello Store USA. We were selling like morning musume goods. And we were selling like crazy amounts. But the profit margin was just too low. You know what I mean? It was just too low. So I had to quit them all. Thank God for Korean, because Korean filled this huge void in my life when in 2012. Like, I really was like, at one moment I was like, why am I even alive? What's left? But I had found Korean and K-pop, and I started getting another purpose in life. Luckily. And I actually closed JapanFiles.com while I was in Korea that first time in 2012. I was like, I'm done. I'm just done. And I unceremoniously just said, I'm done. And I didn't. It's a big regret in my life, because I didn't end Japan Files cleanly. I ended it really sloppily. I'm like, I'm done. This is it. I didn't like say, hey guys, in 3 months we're closing our doors. There was no clean. It was just like, guys, we're done. And then I stopped talking to everybody because I was done.
Yeah.
And I hated Japan for a while. 2012. I really started not liking Japan. I was so jaded at the Japanese music industry. There's a lot of things I'm not telling you that happened behind the scenes. I was jaded, but luckily I filled that with K-pop, and I went to Korea. And in the I think I've lived in Korea like for 14 months in the last 6 years. It was like a 3-year period that I was there for almost a year, because I go there for like a month to 2 months. And by the way, I'll be there for like 6 weeks in February. So our 6 week,
Okay, don't need that.
period that I was there for almost a year, because I go there for like a month to 2 months. And by the way, I'll be there for like Japan in February. It doesn't matter. So I quit that, and then I focused on Japanese from zero. I still love Korea, and I'm constantly, because I still love Korea, and I'm from like March to I go to Japan in February. It doesn't matter. I go to Japan in February. Then I head to Korea for a month, because I still love Korea, and I'm constantly trying to improve my Korean. So I quit that, and then I focused on Japanese from zero, which was what I should have done from the very beginning. And I learned a hardcore lesson: don't stray too far from your core. And I haven't strayed since then. And I learned
I don't think that's a good clean cut, but
that I was there for almost a year, because I go there for like a month.
oh my God, this whole Korean stuff.
I filled that with K-pop, and I went to Korea. And in the I think I lived, and I went to Korea.
Can I just do this? Is this a possibility here? Just get rid of this.
And I went to Korea. So I quit that, and then I focused on Japanese from zero.
Okay.
This music industry. There's a lot of things I'm not telling you that happened behind the scenes. I was jaded, but luckily I filled that with K-pop, and I went to Korea. So I quit that, and then I focused on Japanese from zero, which was what I should have done from the very beginning. And I learned a hardcore lesson: don't stray too far from your core. and I haven't strayed since then. All I do now is, well, I added Korean. I still think I want to go back to Chinese. So yeah, that's my career. That's it.
There we go. Okay, that's a good end.
So yeah, that's my career. That's it. Now all I do is these videos and make new language books. Is these videos make new language books. Is these videos make new language books, and we're building these huge websites. It's the good times again right now. So it was the good times in 2008. Every month the money was going up until the 2008 crash, and then just started slowly going down until I couldn't pay myself anymore. For like 4 months I wasn't paid. Then
by the way, it's the bad times right now, just for the record. The good times were during COVID for us, and now it's the bad times again.
I had like 100,000.
It's the best bad times we've ever had, but it's the bad times.
Like it's either 80 or 100.
Oh, this is too much information.
All I do is these videos.
I think I can end with, so that's, I think I can just end right there, honestly.
I was jaded, but luckily what I should have done from the very beginning. And I learned a hardcore lesson. Don't stray too far from your core. So yeah, that's my career. That's it. Now all I do is that's my career. That's it.
That's it. That's it, guys. Okay. Now, there's this much left in the stream. So there might be more, but this is at least one segment. I'll duplicate this. Where's duplicate? Okay. Rest of stream. So yeah, I've got 3 solid things here so far from just one random stream. All right, back to comments. Ragov says, I've made a friend in Hello Talk and he was Korean and he keeps saying some kind of "Ise follow me, Ise follow me, Ise," and I can't find the meaning in English. Ise follow me. I don't know what that means. Oh my God. It's like a new round of, I thought I was done with this. That was a lot of snot. Let me try to look at this again. Ise follow me. Ise follow me. No idea. The meaning, well, that doesn't make any sense in Korean that I'm aware of. Caveman, referring back to the Okina Chisana, he says, I hate this feeling, by the way, feeling like my Japanese is correct, but not understanding the subtle differences in how different words and phrases come across. That just comes with experience. You've never lived in Japan, Caveman. Your experiences are limited to what you've done here in America, right? Like, Sonna Wakenai seems too direct confrontational. I know it's a higher level problem I have, but it's frustrating. Yeah, Sonna Wakenai. That you're going against what someone just said. That's not the case. It's like saying that's not the case. It seems pushy, doesn't it, to you? Is there a difference between chiri and hokori? I think hokori is more common than chiri. Like, hokori ga sugoi. It's too much dust. I don't think I ever hear anyone say chiri unless they're talking about chiri mo tsumoreba yamato naru. So my back of the bus answer is that hokori is more common. And there might be something physical, like chiri is dust from a natural source and hokori is from an unnatural source. It might be something like that, but I don't know. Oh, Caveman comes in. June, looking at example sentences, they seem to be the same with subtle differences about what kind of dust you're talking about. Well, there you go. That's what I was saying. What do you mean, ask you, Kari, when y'all got married? I remember when we got married. I was 23. It's 1995. 21 was just me making a mistake in that video. Sofa King Alpha says, living the best bad times. Was it your braces goofing with you at the time? Yeah, I think that's what it was. But I also do that a lot where I repeat my statement. Sam R says, going to Korea for 2 weeks. What's the best way to meet girls if I don't speak Korean? Go to language meetups. Go to GSM tables in Gangnam. That's a very direct thing I'm telling you. Every day of the week, they have Korean meetups. And don't make it your goal to meet girls. Make it your goal to make friends. Okay? But I literally met... God, my memory's already fading. I think two decent girls. Actually, I met a few that were really cute, but I'm not looking for girls, so it's like different for me. I don't have that wash of desperation over my face that I'm looking for a girl. So GSM tables near Gangnam. It's a walk, a little bit of a walk from Nonhyun Station. GSM tables language meetup. Is that all I missed? Well, I missed a lot less than I thought. Well, in that case, let's look a little bit more if there's any more interesting things in this stream.
Now all I do is these videos. I learned a bit. I don't do music business anymore. I want to buy the cup.
Here we go. Here we go.
I want to buy. I want to buy the cup 7% thingy. Well, go ahead. Did I ever have flight anxiety?
That's interesting.
Did I ever have flight anxiety? Nope. I love flying all the time. There was one time I was flying on. By the way, when I first went to Japan, it was the airplane was Northwest Orient. You never heard of it, right? There was an airline called Northwest Orient. Anyway, flying back on, and they still smoke.
June. I gave the ending to that story in one of the live streams. I met her the last night I was there. I gave the ending of that story. The story is told in something. It looks like I wrote F and then a bunch of symbols. ING is my complex is the name of the stream. Here, I'll show it to you. It's like number 48 or something like that. Hang on. I'll find it. Un momento, señor. Number 48. Right here.
You are so stupid and boring. You have to go stuck at your home and don't turn on the phone. You can stay behind the phone and typing something like this thing. I don't like it.
안녕하세요. Welcome to the live.
You, Bo.
Do you feel me? Because today was interesting. It was a nice final night for Korea. I depart tomorrow. I might have one more stream in me from the airport. So nice. Clean up the place. About being delusional. This particular girl that I met. Oh, I should say woman. Girl seems like she's really young. No, she's a woman. Met her at a meetup. And for the last 3 days in a row, she's been like, hey, I'm in Gangnam. Do you want to get tea? She's done that 3 times in a row. And I'm just like, psh, like kind of ignoring it, not paying attention really, because I was just coughing so much anyway, and I didn't feel like going out, you know. But she kept saying,
What's up, girl?
I'm like, girl, I'm a little bit busy, but she kept saying,
What's up, girl?
and then I was like, I don't know.
You are so boring.
Yeah. And then she was like,
Do she miss me?
and I was like, I don't know. She probably does.
Do she miss me?
Sorry, enough fun. So, you were confused during the intro? Is it your... you haven't been here in a while. I've been collecting sounds.
Stay behind the phone and type.
All right, anyway, you can find out the rest of the story there. I got stuck in my own video right now. Check that out. That's what happened to her. She told me something very, very interesting. I gotta get another light, like right here. Like, how does this turn on? Like right here. Oh my God. Yeah, I need something. Ooh. Something right above me, like right here. Let my face up. Problem is it reflects in the TV. Some of you are like, wait, that's a TV behind you? Some people still don't know. This cold. It's been the worst in a long time. All right. Well, I'll keep my eye open for comments while I do some other additional looking at this live stream from 5 years ago.
Smoked in the airplanes, but
I don't know if this is interesting.
flying back from Japan one time to the States. I mean, flying is nothing. It's the takeoff and the landing that's a little. Jack says George's current career.
This is Jack, by the way. Literally caveman. Same guy. He's five years ago. He's here as well. I don't know if you realize that, but that's you, caveman.
Jack says George's current career: shoot some artsy stuff about tissues and teach a little Japanese on the side.
That's you, Jack.
You know, I'll say this. I am comfortable right now, financially. Not rich, but I'm comfortable. I don't worry
It's funny. I'm way more comfortable now, but yet these are the bad times.
too much. I have to look at the money a little bit because we're building this website. It also makes it easy creativity in a different direction.
There might be nothing worthy in the rest of the stream.
All right, cool. Do I recommend learning Japanese first?
Ooh, this is good. This is good. Maybe it's good.
Do I recommend learning Japanese first? And is that the language you'd start with if you had to do it over?
Ooh.
It served me so well learning Japanese first. I think it's the right choice for me because if I learned Korean first, I would hate kanji, and I would have been intimidated by Chinese. Japanese, if you got Japanese down, you're not intimidated by anything. Korean is the similar grammar. Chinese uses kanji, but it's kind of easier in Chinese, kanji-wise, because they're not 9 different ways to read the same kanji. You learn like when it's used here, it's read this way. When it's used here, it's this way. They're very clean-cut rules a lot of the time. Not clean-cut rules. I mean, not for grammar. Grammar can be awkward in Chinese. But the writing systems, I kind of like. Good night, Hourglass. Systems, I kind of like. Good night, Hourglass. Sir, do you have books here in the P?
There we go. That's like an entire section. We can just do that. Okay. Which language would I learn first? 39 seconds. It's good stuff. Oh, that's not what I wanted. Wrong one. Still, it's good enough for something.
But the writing systems I kind of like. Good night.
Oops. I think I missed that last part.
Awkward in Chinese, but the writing systems I kind of like. Good night, Hourglass. Good night, Hourglass. Sir, do you have books here in the PH? Repository. DD says, do you know that the name Tremblay is the most frequent last name where I come from? Do you know if Tremblay is related? Any rhyme or reason to which... Is there any rhyme or reason... Is there any rhyme or reason to which kanji are used in name? What up?
Ooh, that's a good question.
In names. What about forenames? Nope, there's no rhyme or reason. And you can even change the reading of the kanji if you want. That's why names are historically bad for kanji reading.
Not a good enough
Foreign
answer.
names are not supposed to have kanji. They're supposed to be done in katakana, but there's
Okay, maybe I'm gonna.
historically bad for kanji reading. Foreign names are not supposed to have kanji. They're supposed to be done in katakana, but there's a thing called ateji where you just slap whatever reading you want on a kanji. It's called ateji. You say this name, like my name is Georgie. I could say, oh, it's smart and human, or smart person. I put these two kanji together and it's read Georgie. That's ateji.
Am I going to talk about Asaka Yui being named Miruki? I don't know.
How's my Chinese going? Not.
Okay, is that the entire thing? Well, maybe that's something. We'll find out. Psst. We'll find out. Okay. Something about kanji. I forgot what it was already. I forgot the official question.
Is there any rhyme or reason to which kanji are used in name?
So, like, are there rules for kanji in names?
How's my Chinese going? Not so good. Says, I remember you said if everyone hates me, I'm the problem. But what if many people are silent? Okay, if people are silent, they don't like you. Because how many times have you heard this? I hear it all the time. I tell you because I care. It's when I stop talking that you'll know I don't care. And it's true. If I don't like someone, you're talking a little bit more local though, huh? Should I look at their faces for reaction? Zet horse, you say things all the time in Japanese that I know you're overextending.
This fucking Zed horse guy.
To like you're trying to say really witty things. Don't be witty in Japanese until you can actually be witty. Talking a little bit more local though, huh? You're doing something wrong if they're all silent, dude. Maybe your accent's so far off that they. Where do you start with that? Like, if you have a small problem in your Japanese, they're going to ignore it and they'll talk to you. If your Japanese is so wrong, if you're trying to do what we talked about earlier where because Zet Horse, you say things all the time in Japanese that I know you're overextending to, like you're trying to say really witty things. Don't be witty in Japanese until you can actually be witty. Of course, I understand. How can you get witty if you don't try? So it's a mixed message, right? I say make the mistake, but you know what? You need to know when to say what you can say and when you try to stretch to say what you want to say. There's a balance. And people generally get tired of the overextending.
Yes.
You know,
I was saying this
I've
earlier.
met people in Korea that say these crazy things in English, and I'm disgusted. I'm like, stop it. Can we have a normal conversation? Like I wish I could remember this one guy. Oh my god, he was actually a cool guy, and we were friends for a while. But he was always trying to be witty in English, and he didn't know enough English to do it. He couldn't pull it off. So it was like, stop. So try not to do that. Yofukashi shitemasu. Pull it off. So it was like, stop.
Dang it. Is that where I end that discussion?
So try not to.
That's pretty good information, I thought.
Yofukashi shitemasu, sensei. Yes, I am yofukashi. I always yofukashi. I'll be up till like 5 in the morning. George, do you have any sweet JDM import cars? What's JDM? Think before you sleep. Being funny, thank you. George, as a native speaker, I have to say that your English accent is a little off, which...
What? My English accent?
George, as a native speaker, I have to say that your English accent is a little off, which makes it hard to understand you. That's true.
Oh, I don't fight it?
正山さん、ありがとうございました。また、大きいミスがないことを祈ります。よろしくお願いします。Isn't ateji more like you use the kanji for the reading but neglect the meaning? Is it?
Ooh, that's maybe a follow up here.
Isn't ateji more like you? It's probably both. That's a really good question. Because I've seen, like, stupid readings slapped to the
Okay, now I'll talk about Sakayui.
slapped to the like use the kanji. No, it's both. It's got to be both because I've seen kanji read one way, but it's not. Like miruki.
There it is. There it is.
Miruki would be written like with ginga, with the words for golden, for Milky Way, but they'll say miruki. I've seen that like a long time ago, so that's an ateji. How do you write buretto in kanji?
Okay, so I can at least take this and paste it. Is that this one?
What in names for kanji reading? Foreign names are not supposed to have. You say this name, like my name is.
Okay.
How do you write buretto in kanji? Figure it out, Brett. Is that I know you're overextending.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
Couldn't pull it off. So it was like, stop.
Stop overdoing. Stop trying so hard is what I would probably call this one. This is just one stream, man. I could pull so much stuff from one stream.
How do you write buretto in kanji? Have any ideas on what to look for? Do you have any ideas on what to look for in an Aitaki teacher? Well, Jez, that's very subjective. Let me just give you some things you could look at. If here's the bad way to talk about it, but if you like Japanese girls and you want to talk to a cute Japanese girl, then find a cute one. If you're into sweet voices, find one that has a sweet voice. If you like long hair but not short hair, then avoid short hair teachers. And then, of course, you could look at their ratings, right? Do you want a teacher that has a plan for you? Or do you want a teacher that will let you ask her questions and learn, or him, right? Do it, if you want to look at my teachers, for example, for Chinese and Korean and Japanese and French, they're all up on the Polyglot George channel. I've used 4 or 5 different teachers from Italki. And I would just go through and find someone that I thought had a good vibe. Like the one girl I ended up reading the books with, her name is Kurumi. Here, you know what? We'll just look at it. Here, let's look. See here. All right, so here's my French teacher. Bonjour. Je suis américain.
All right.
Pre-braces.
Nothing that I studied today is this. Yes, of course, but we're practicing.
Ouais, ouais. Hein. D'accord. Georges, est-ce que tu es japonais?
Let me ask, are you Japanese?
I can just say no.
Je
Right?
suis pas,
Ouais.
je suis pas japonaise.
Je ne suis pas
Je n'ai.
japonais.
But I think you can
Or
drop the
je
je
n'ai
ne
pas.
sais.
Je n'ai pas japonais.
So what I like about her is she's extremely prepared. Like she's amazing. This is
This is a
Karine is her
really.
name.
I
I
like
really,
this,
really love her. And when
This is one I'll cut later, but this is really good. Oops.
People.
and then
That teacher doesn't like her stuff being up there.
she wasn't animated enough for me.
Why true fan? I'm making up something.
Why?
The
Why my?
delivery.
Why
my?
my?
Why my? Out.
Sorry,
By,
couldn't remember.
Why my fan? Can I say fan? 可以说 fan? Why my
嗯
fan? Why my fan?
不用，你就
不用
说外卖
Why
就可以了。
外卖？外卖。
嗯。
老板给5
So this was a really cool, like this style of teaching I had never had before. So this teacher would, she had me watch this video, which was like Cantonese.
See, this is like so much gold in these live streams that just are just lost forever.
So I thought, you know, and her hourly rate's only 13.
At junior college.
Do we end up doing this?
大阪に住んでいます。
And she has like this really like adorable voice. She just reminds me of my wife. And I like that her name of her video was Win 2016-020. Like it's like, how funny is it that she didn't even rename her video on YouTube? She just uploaded it as is. And of course she can't.
Hello everyone, my name is
She's so adorable. Come on. She's so adorable. Listen to it.
Kiko. I'm a professional Japanese teacher. はじめまして、皆さんこんにちは。キコです。プロの日本語教師です。外国
What resolution is her camera? It's potato.
語はコミュニケーションに使うだけではありません。時には友情だったり、時には発見だったり、いつも新しい世界を私たちにプレゼントしてくれます。
Oh, high level. Man. Come on. She's adorable. Adorable. Look at the little
I don't even
thought
know
that
if she's
was
around anymore. Looks like we're right near the end of the stream.
inside. I don't. This is the part of the series that I took down.
All right, so I'm going to call this What to Look For in a Online Japanese Teacher. Yeah. So I got like 5-6 things out of this stream.
We already were listening to his Japanese. Find Misa on here.
Yeah, I went, okay, this whole thing I could cut. There you go. That's it. Does anyone even hear anymore? Am I just background noise at this point? Am I talking to myself? Probably talking to myself. Yeah, just talking to myself. Well, with that being said, I will do one final practice of my... I'm going to practice the rhythm of my new rap, which is a follow-up to I Love Japanese Girls. And then I'll end the stream there. Peace. I'm an old man now. Oh, shit. Can you even hear me? It's too loud. I'm an old man now, it's been so long, but at one point in time, I wrote a song. Japanese girls were on my mind when I penned the original to them in rhyme. No day, no week, no month, no year would another type of girl turn my gears. But give me a moment, let me explain. This wasn't in my plan, I tried to refrain. I gotta work on this beat. Years ago, things are complicated. K-pop was big, J-pop had faded. Gangnam Style on my playlist. Korea just a fog in the mist. And then I'll have another rapper come in. Be careful, George. Curiosity kills a cat. Shut up, Kyle. I ain't worried about that. I ain't a cat. I'm a human being. I'm heading to Korea. I just have to see him. You can't trust video. You got to see him for real. Could they really be this pretty? Could they be the real deal? But you're married. You have a happy life. I've seen your family and your beautiful wife. This isn't about her, obviously. I'm married, but marriage don't define me. I arrived in Seoul, my wife's picture in my wallet. I looked around the streets and then I saw it. Korean girls here, Korean girls there. Each one more beautiful, hard not to stare. All right, that's the cringy start of the new song. Korea, what's it gonna be called? I don't know yet. I haven't figured it out. Korean Complications, probably. All right, that's a good enough end. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you think of the new rap. How cringy is it? I'll see you another time. Bye, guys.